politics, and power. And now, for the irrational perspective, the irrational way of considering and looking at politics. On this episode, we are going to hear a little bit from a professor of behavioral economics, Dan O'Reilly, who suggests that we are all predictively irrational. And I will introduce the contribution by the learned professor by saying that irrationality is based on the power to use fear and myth to cloud reason. And the irrational perspective is that which explains Mussolini and fascism. It also speaks to the kind of role that Hitler played on civility and on the minds of the citizens of Germany, and the other authoritarian characters and persuasive international leaders like Osama bin Laden. Why is it that certain individuals had such a grip, such a hold on the minds and the actions and the behavior of certain individuals? Why is it that one mighty, powerful leader could cause an entire nation to go astray? Well, let us listen a bit to hear what the expert says on irrational behaviors, and then we'll conclude.
People believe that when we deal with physical attraction, we see somebody and we know immediately whether we like them or not, attracted or not. So I decided to do this experiment with people. I showed some people a picture of Tom and people a picture of Jerry, and I said, who do you want to date, Tom or Jerry? But for half the people, I added an ugly version of Jerry. I took Photoshop and I made Jerry slightly less attractive. The other people, I added an ugly version of Tom. And the question was, will ugly Jerry and ugly Tom help the respective more attractive brothers? And the answer was absolutely yes. When ugly Jerry was around, Jerry was popular. When ugly Tom was around, Tom was popular. This, of course, has two very clear implications for life in general. What is the general point? The general point is that we have this beautiful view of human nature. What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason. We have this view of ourselves, of others. And I think if we understood our cognitive limitations in the same way that we understand our physical limitations, even if they don't stare us in the face in the same way, we could design a better world. And that, I think, is the hope.
Dan is a professor of behavioral economics at Duke University, and I'm happy that he was able to shed some light in terms of the exercise that he did with the physical appearance of the individual, which certainly does not mean anything in terms of that individual's ability to function and perform on behalf of the people. In politics as well as other spheres, it is not how one looks but one's intention, plan, leadership, skills, ability, and politics teaches us that this is the way it is done or should be done. In fact, the irrational way of politics is certainly a destructive way. Leaders who are irrationalists or who use the technique of irrationality start believing their own propaganda, and they lead their nations down a path of economic ruin or tyranny, and in many cases war. So, as we get through on this fifth and final perspective of understanding politics, I ask that you get ready to put all that we have discussed into action when we discuss the more heated political topics. Cord and Jones, who write profusely on politics, suggest that electoral politics, which is driven by bells and whistle and screaming crowds, with leaders striking historic poses, never end and redound to the benefit of the nation. And I agree. Politics and power.